Good evening once again. My name is Chad Novak, and I'm here representing the Saskatchewan Taxpayers Advocacy Group, which is a grassroots organization proudly standing up for the rights of individual taxpayers. I am here to address the Regina Property Tax Exemption review. Once again, I am working hard to ensure that the city provides fair and equitable treatment of all taxpayers in Regina. And to that extent, I must say that I am very pleased to see this report not only being initiated by City Council, but also being reviewed in detail by your administration and brought back for a full public review. With that said, I think we need to take it to the next step and develop a consistent policy to ensure that there are minimal questions and confusion behind what groups can qualify and how they can become aware of their ability to apply. Now, if I am reading this correctly, according to this report, there are a total of approximately $6.5 million in property tax exemptions from 2015 alone, with $3.7 million of that being the city's share. Now, is this accurate? The question that taxpayers want answered is this a reasonable amount? Now, to answer that, there are many variables that would need to be looked at, but to me, the more important question to ask is, how much of this is truly necessary, as every single dollar that we exempt, we must make up elsewhere, which is often in the form of additional property taxes to residents who are already being taxed to death, who feel they are. Now, when I look at this report, the one item that really jumps out at me is the $2.8 million for the housing incentive policy in 2015, spread across 569 accounts. Now, while I applaud you for taking the steps to encourage rental housing development, this number is just outrageous, and unfortunately, many of these properties are not tied to what we would traditionally call affordable housing. I know it is your hope that increasing the supply through supply and demand will cause the market to adjust accordingly, but handing out millions of dollars in tax incentives to an industry that is hardly just scraping by, to me, is just a slap in the face to the individual property owners in our great city that desperately need truly affordable housing in our community. There are so many people that could barely scrape enough together to put food on their table, let alone pay their property taxes or rents. I am sure that many residents of Regina would love to have had that $2.8 million put towards even a fraction of their annual property taxes being exempted, which to me would have been a far more reaching impact on our cost of living and housing supply than anything else. It is also very important to note that the original intent of the housing incentives policy, seen in Appendix A, is actually very commendable, which talks about encouraging development within existing communities. What it appears has happened, though, by reviewing the list of affected properties, is that, well, now this is now expanded into any development anywhere in the city, as you can see in Appendix B. This goes against the original intent of this policy altogether, as it simply doesn't do anything to encourage infill development or reduce urban sprawl. Further into this report, there is a specific property tax exemption that the Economic Development Regina, Inc. is now apparently in charge of, and that's for economic development incentives. Now, I understand that the authority for the SIG tax exemption has been delegated to them, but do you have a current copy of the criteria required to be met in order to get this exemption? The reason I ask is that it seems rather subjective, and given that there is only one account taking advantage of this incentive, I have to wonder why more aren't being granted and what justifications are being used. I recall there being some sort of complex matrix the last time I reviewed this issue, but I'm wondering if that's still being used. I thank you for your time this evening, and I will gladly answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Novak, for your presentation. Questions from members of council?
Thank you.